Thank you for this opportunity today. I was very impressed when Jill and Kelly spoke this morning and said they didn't have to make any notes. At which point I started madly writing notes so that I wouldn't forget. So they are totally scribbled. But the opportunity today to share the lived experience of people that I've had the pleasure of working with these last several years. And my comments today are not as the leader of the group. I'm the least important person, but of the members of my group who have shared their feelings, their insights, their honest comments around belonging to the group and the value that it has meant to them. And I must say, hearing everyone's comments from the lived experiences and things, I'm not a family physician, I am a nurse practitioner, so I do have some knowledge of things, and my knowledge really came from working initially with the infectious disease physicians at Sunnybrook, who started testing very early on and found that they needed a physician or a nurse practitioner to give the diagnosis of positivity to people, and then to follow them, and then to do assessments for people that were positive but also not doing well. And something just tweaked in me because I was redirected during COVID from the community, partly from the community, because I still had to do home visits for people that were not vaccinated, who were bedbound, but also reaching out to people that all over the city, whoever came to Sunnybrook in Toronto, the hospital, and finding out their stories of how the impact was of COVID initially. And I'll just go back a little bit, that in January of 2020, my husband and I went on a cruise. My husband got sick. He's very characteristic of getting sick every single time we go away. I spend more time in the medical center than I do on the balcony or, on land. And so he got sick. He decided, let's go in March. We'll take another cruise. We'll just go for a week. It'll be fine. My kids are calling me. We're wearing masks on the ship. It's, COVID's coming. I worked in an acute care facility during SARS, the first wave. So I thought, oh, this sounds familiar. And we left the cruise early and came home, and of course everyone was isolated. I was redeployed for the Sunnybrook physicians, as well as continuing to do home visiting. At which point I started the interest of the group and proposed it to my director at Baycrest. And Baycrest, some of you may know, is the Center for Geriatric Care, world renowned for brain research and, like all of these things. And I thought, oh, they'll think this is wonderful. Not. Anyway, I wrote a pilot project proposal, and they said you could do it for 4 weeks, because by then probably things will, wax and wane. Well, 5 years later. Anyway, I just continued to do it, and I should say, just not with the funding, but I do have a bit of support from my manager now, whom I run this group during my work day. So, there I've been allowed. And I really have said that I will not give it up, and it's 5 years later. So the group members, I asked them to tell me what the value of this group was. And so for them, and I'm sorry if I'm, reiterating everything that's been said today, because I feel like I'm in the choir, like we're all in the choir here because of our knowledge. I'll just tell you one other really quick story. When I was in grade 9, about 100 years ago, and thank God I'm wearing the mask, because then you can't see all my, aged wrinkles. But I had a science teacher from Scotland, okay, whom we could not understand. And in those days, she smoked in the class, like with the gas burners, well, you're all too young for that, but we had gas burners. And we did experiments. Anyway, she used to say there were one day, maybe a half a dozen people showed up for the science class. And she was yelling at us about the people that didn't show up. And then she said, this is like church in Scotland. The priest stands in front and preaches to the people that are there about the people that don't attend. Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, I'm doing that as well. Anyway, fast. The group members have said that this group for them, this is not about me, it's about them. This group legitimized things for them. That brought knowledge through what they were going through to learn from others. They had crazy symptoms. It wasn't just the first symptoms that we were looking at of loss of smell and taste, because those went out the window like probably 2 months later. There are shocks that people have. It's a nervous shock. It's a symptomatic shock that happens. The crashing that people have is really, people in the group understand what they are going through. They have a connection with each other. They are at a point where they've met outside the group. I've met some of the people outside the group. They are connecting with each other because they understand. And I have to say, Jill and Kelly, when this first, you asked me to, be part of this, and it was around family and caregivers, and I remember saying to you, I'm sorry, but their family members don't understand. They are not supportive. Their loved ones, someone said earlier today that they've left them. Some of them are living together but independent of each other because the spouse just cannot understand that they are still ongoing with their symptoms, and it really has, split people together. This brought for them a forum to discuss information rather than misinformation. And I think that's a really important part. Initially, I had started the group not just to be supportive of people, but to bring an educational background to it, and certainly to bring speakers and things. In the first few years, everybody was too busy to do it. It was like nobody had time. Isaac Bogosh, I have a friend who went to medical school with him. I wanted him, he couldn't, he was so busy, I understand, but it was just really insurmountable to try and get someone. So the group members have now become the educators. They are the ones bringing the information and the research. They feel that this is real, that it's not in your head. They were told, being symptomatic and going to family doctors and all the specialists, it's anxiety. Take a pill and you'll be fine, right? It's not anxiety. It's not anxiety when you're having a physical symptom from head to toe and having it through your body. This provided a community for them. It gave them a focus that was supportive and that was educational for them. They became the self-researchers. They've all had dark days. Some of them have come during the dark days. They'll let me know if they're crashing and they can't come. Each person will follow up with someone. It's amazing. Their friends and family, as I say, it's been very difficult. Many are not able to work. Many have been tried to go back and are not able to. They just physically are not capable, and have had difficulty with funding from disability perspectives, and their unions and things like that have gone through. So those have been really, I've written a lot of letters to Ontario Disability. I'm telling you, they know my name, I'm sure, but we've really tried to advocate for them. One of the attendees said, this forum gives us a place, the group, to mourn our losses, the things that we've lost. And someone also talked about this, and that they have magnificent waves of, things are really good, and advocating for each other to be able to return to work and understanding when they're not able to do. As I said, I've had 3 cohorts. So the first cohort was the pilot project, in order for me to get data so that I could continue on. Of course, I was told that there wasn't enough. There were only a half a dozen people. But one of the attendees, who actually has gotten better, he too was a jogger, a runner, very athletic. He moved from the States very early on. In March of 2020, and was suffering and came to Toronto and now lives here. And he said his advice is, don't avoid from withdrawing from normal on social life and your active life. Sign up for things, even if you have to cancel at the last minute, that it gives, if you don't sign up, you have a victim mindset. It's easier said than done. It worked for him, all right, and he can reflect back on what was, but not what was, but what is now, and that he has a new baseline and new beginnings. So thank you to all the members of my group.